Greetings, my fellow warriors, boy Meckanimal, and today we're going to address the issue of the range of motion. Why the range of motion? Because every time I see a short range of motion, my spirits get crushed, my soul gets devoured, and I'm not really being dramatic. It's true, especially on the squat. You see that over and over again. So this goes to all my fellow warriors, my beloved warriors, who may know that they shouldn't be going through a short range of motion, and the ones that do it deliberately. Hopefully, after this video, I get to convince you to do otherwise. So why you guys doing it? I believe because of peer pressure. Whether it's around you or in around you. I mean, like in gyms. Friends, seeing friends being exerting in higher performance than you, and also whether it's on social media. I believe more has to do with social media. With social media, you get to have so much more access to people, and then you get to be tempted. You see your competition performing better than you, and not knowing actually uh, if that person is performing on his best day that day, or how long the person has been training. You don't really know the background, but you are so quick to jump to comparing yourself to another one, and thus by any means trying to get to that level. And let me tell you and remind you that going through a shorter range of motion is just lying to yourself, is tricking. I don't even know who you're tricking, because the people who know, they know that this is not how it's supposed to do. Unfortunately, the average person that just doesn't know. Sometimes I feel like I live on a different planet. You just have people who are just clueless about how to do things and how to go about things. So I believe that's one of the main reasons why uh, most people get to go through short range of motion. It's just an ego thing, and they try by any means to satisfy the ego. And I'm gonna reassure you, it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak. You can be weak. It's fine. You have to accept your weakness, embrace your weakness, and do something about your weakness. So that's just why, that's just in regard to that, I'm saying it's okay to be weak. In the general sense of it, you should not be weak. It's a crime to be weak, and a weaker person is likely to be killed, to be eliminated by natural selection. I know it's going a little too primal, and what you call I'm digressing a little bit, but yeah, I'm just trying to go to a broader spectrum, so you guys should understand, uh, so you guys can understand why so it's not okay to be weak, but it is okay to be weak. Understand that that's something you have to go through. Admit it, so you do something about it and get better. And again, the shorter range of motion is not the way to get strong. Because, let me break it down. The more closed a joint is, the harder it is for the musculature around that joint leverage to produce higher power. That's why it's hard to move through that shorter range of motion whenever a joint lever is closed. So the best way to challenge yourself is to work through that that closed range of motion, so that you can adapt and get stronger and be able to produce even more force whenever the joint is open, which is already something it can do the more open the joint is able to produce more force, which is why you can put so much more weight and still be able to push them as soon as you stop shorter from that threshold where it can't anymore. So by nature, the more open the joint is, the more force you can produce. The more closed the joint is, when you go ass to grass, for example, the lesser force the muscle can produce. So you want to go through that so you can challenge the muscle to get more. I mean, to produce more work. But the problem is you load it up with something you can do on the shorter range of motion. The reality is you won't be able to move that much weight. That's the reason why subconsciously and consciously a lot of people tend to stop short of that threshold to convince themselves or trick themselves that they're about that life, they're about that weight. So let me tell you to knock it off, knock off the weights, put it down, and then build it. And trust me, by a natural law of accommodation, you're gonna get there one day. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be in 1 week, it might not, but you will get there, and it's okay. Enjoy the process. That's what it's all about. That's why we do this thing. We do this thing for life, forever. So there's no deadline. There is no what you call 'em, I have to get it done by before this person reach it. It's okay to compete against each other, but you have to do it for yourself. You have to compare yourself to whatever you were uh, last week, 1 month ago, 1 year ago. This is the procedure that you should be embracing whenever you're training. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself injuring yourself because you tend to bypass levels, and because you use the wrong technique to accommodate leverages and help you move weights that you feel like, yeah, you should be moving at that time. So yes, don't do that. It's not good. It just irks me. It hurts my spirit. And the funny thing is, whenever you try to help somebody, you could break it down to him. Don't do this. Go that. Lower the weights. You'll feel better. The moment you do it, you turn around. He's back already to whatever he convinced himself that he want to do. That's what I'm telling you. It's just that ego thing. People are afraid to admit that they are weak, and they will do anything. The mind will do anything to convince you that you are strong, you are what you're actually not. And especially in this fitness thing, it happens over and over again. So if you fall in that category, don't worry. Don't feel about yourself. It's normal. Most people, I will give a broad estimation of, I would say, 90% of people in the world training most likely goes through a shorter range of motion than they should. And I'm talking from my experience of being a trainer and being around a lot of gym. 90% of people just have no clue what they're doing. So yeah, range of motion, go through the fullest range of motion possible for an exercise, and you will get the best benefits. Now you have specificity of exercises whenever you want to apply it to a specific sport. That's a different story. And even in those cases, coaches will have you go through a fuller range of motion to develop the raw power, and then have some other sense of workout dedicated to that specific range of motion so that you can maximize whatever you've produced with the fullest range of motion. So again, range of motion is key. Full range of motion, you just don't want to overlook it, especially if you're training for general fitness and general strength. So I think that's everything that is to be covered, that I've been planning for a while to cover. Yeah, so this, I think all I wanted to cover. Don't be that guy, respect the range of motion, especially on the squats. I see that way too often. And it's not good. It's not helping you. Yeah, and then another thing I was gonna add is yeah, getting shorter range of motion will weaken so much the range of motion you're missing that whenever you fall into that range of motion by mistake with a load that you can't really control, hey, guess what happened? It's injury. So anytime you're mingling, whispering, chatting with a shorter range of motion, you're just flirting with death, flirting with injury, and I do not want that to happen, at least not around me. So I urge you to go through the fullest range of motion that you can possibly go. And again, work on your mobility. That helps as well for longer range of motion. I'm no mobility guru, so I just happen to be one of those people who believe highly in mobility and is key to longevity. At least for me, all I can do is speak for myself. I've tested on myself. I've tested on many of my clients. So at least that's something I can what you call I can use and rely on to be able to testify of the great things that mobility can do for you. And yes, everything is going well on my end. Progress is well. Everything is steady. Weather is getting better outside, so we can get to have some nice footage outdoor soon. And that's it, man. I have some merch on my website, and feel free to check it out. And yeah, everything is and will always be. Be small the Meckanimal way. Salute.